Hey everyone, it's Julianne Meyer, your host of Own Your Wellness. And happy Monday, everyone. I'm so excited to be here today. As always, I have a special guest. Her name is Cheryl Meyer. No relation. It was just kind of cool because we even spell our last name the same. Both early risers. There's all sorts of things we have in common. And she has an absolutely fascinating story. So let's just bring her on. Hello,
Good
Cheryl.
morning. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday to you. So thank you for joining us today. You and I just got to know each other recently a little bit, and I would love for you to share with our audience a little bit about who you are, what you do, your own health journey.
Well, I was a solopreneur. I had my own jewelry business. I manufactured in China, and it was jewelry that I developed myself for big box jewelers like Macy's and J.C. Penney and Amazon. And the problem was I was working 24/7 and not paying any attention to what my body was trying to tell me, which was that my toxic load was building up and I was well on my way to getting sick. So there were all kinds of signs, and they just flitted past my brain so quick I didn't stop to think about them. Even when they began to get more serious, there was one morning when I woke up and my lips and my eyes and my tongue were all swollen. You would have thought that that would have been a good clue that I needed to stop and go to the doctor and find out what was going on. But I figured out that it was probably the fabric softener sheets because I'd had company. I knew I was getting rashes from them. I put them way up in my laundry room, and she did me a favor and did my laundry, and she used those sheets. And so by deduction, I figured out that my reaction had gotten worse and that that's what had triggered it. And then about 3 weeks later, I woke up and I could not get out of bed because everything in my body hurt. Every muscle, every joint. Obviously, it was going to interrupt my life. So I went to the doctor. She ran tests. I went again. She ran more. I went a third time. She ran more. And she finally called me and said, Cheryl, there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. I said, that's ludicrous. I said, I know my body. This is not normal. And I hurt. And she said, well, I'm going to make two suggestions. I'm going to give you steroids. And I want you to go get therapy, mental therapy. I said, number one, why would I go on steroids if there's nothing wrong with me? And trust me, this is not a mental problem. My muscles and my joints all hurt. I have brain fog. I have fatigue. I'm not sleeping. I know I'm stressed. Something is wrong and I'm going to go find it. So I had had my business for many years. I had a great staff. I turned it over to them and I dug in and I started researching. And I swear to God, I had an angel's hand on my back because I tripped into what's called the functional medical community. And at the time, they were running 19 different symposiums with multiple doctors, all of whom had gotten functional training because they got sick and couldn't help themselves. And I listened to all 19 symposiums, and they kept having common threads. I probably had something called leaky gut. I knew I had too much stress. That was one of the causes of leaky gut. So I knew I was going to have to figure out how to control that. And my cortisol was so low. I was almost to Addison's disease, but I wasn't diseased. So what to do with my conventional doctor? So, and then one of the other big things that created leaky gut were toxins. I thought, okay, that's a place to start. We had had GMOs on the ballot here in California. I didn't understand them. There was so much misinformation going around about them. Nobody understood them. And so it failed. We were not going to control them here. So that's where I started. And I looked into the difference between organic, conventional, and genetically modified foods. Well, what an eye-opening experience. Genetically modified is one of two things. It either has Bt toxin grown right in it, which means that when a bug bites it, it blows him up. But unfortunately, it was not supposed to have any impact in you. Bt toxin was supposed to go in your body and come right out. Well, it was the gift that kept on giving in your gut. So it was causing all kinds of allergies and problems that people weren't aware of. And the second kind of genetically modified was called glyphosate ready. And we now know that Monsanto had known for over 20 years that glyphosate was causing cancer. And what happens is our wheat, all of our bread products, all of our crackers, all of our wheat is drowned in glyphosate,
Mhm.
which is that thing that causes cancer. And so the plants actually go into shock, so they get a bigger, um, they get more from it, but it
Yes.
doesn't get washed off. It just goes right into our foods, right into our bodies. And as a net result of these things and all the spraying on our conventional crops, we're 37th in the world in health. And our
Oh, wow.
children, 53% of our children have chronic illness. That one really hit me between the eyes.
I didn't know that. That's fascinating and sad. Extremely
It's
sad.
horrible. And there's other statistics. A millennial now is only going to make it to 26 before his health starts to decline. A Gen
Wow.
Xer makes it all the way to 37 and then their health starts to decline. And
Mhm.
boomers like me, and I'm going to tell you, I'm 72 and I feel better now than I did in my 50s. But boomers, they don't want to hear it. They know they're supposed to hurt. So they don't want to
Yeah.
be deprived. They don't want to give anything up. But no one's going to live as long as boomers are because
Mhm.
progressively it's getting less and less every year. And it's not only the toxins in our food. As I got into it, there's a giant database in the sky called EWG.org. They put out the Dirty Dozen Clean 15 card. So that's
Yep.
how most people know about them. That changes every year. But they have thousands of items that they have rated from 1 to 10. And if what
Mhm.
you're using isn't in there, you can look them up ingredient by ingredient. So, first thing I looked up in there after I started figuring out I was going to eat organic as much as
Mhm.
possible was my cosmetics. Cosmetics are not regulated. And the
Nope.
one I was using was very expensive and French, and it was a 9 on a 10-point scale. So I was poisoning my body right through my skin. So
Yep.
that gave me the incentive to keep going. By the time I was done, flash forward 5 years, I had eliminated hundreds of toxins and traded them out for much lower toxin items. And I had started to lose my pain significantly. And somewhere along the line, I found my own functional doctor who took me the rest of the way there and confirmed that I had autoimmune disease, which is what I
Mhm.
had kind of figured out anyway. So between all of the toxins that I eliminated from my life that were making me sick as the devil, and then she didn't run any tests the same as my conventional doctor.
No.
Conventional doctor checked my thyroid from here to here. Functional doctor checked it from here to my adrenals. That's where I was broken.
Mm.
Conventional doctor checked me for allergies. Didn't have any allergies. Functional doctor checked me for sensitivities. I had
Mhm.
18 of them. And
Yep.
the minute I eliminated them, I lost a lot of the pain. So the whole
Mhm.
thing was a fascinating journey. So I started running into all kinds of other, particularly women, but some men, who were as frustrated and hurt and upset because they didn't know why they felt so lousy and they were being told it was in their head. So I
Uh-huh.
decided at 67 I was going to go back to school and become a health coach. Now I
I
have a
love
BA in English from Berkeley, but I didn't
it.
think anybody was going to believe me about health with my BA in English. So I had kept file folders on everything I had learned. So I went back to health coach school so that I could get certified to then officially start trying to help other people take back their life and take control over their body. And I sold my business last year so I could be all in.
I love it.
And I have written 4 books. The first book is about my whole journey, what led me to start looking all these products up, and what I found. I actually tell you what I found, what I replaced it with, and why I
Mhm.
thought it was going to make a big difference. And I went through food and canned goods and meat and fats. They tell us fats are bad. There is so much deception out there in marketing. It's overwhelming. Milk does not make your body strong. Milk
No, it
actually,
doesn't.
and it doesn't give you calcium. It
Nope.
pulls the calcium out of your bodies to protect your kidneys because it's acid. So the whole thing was like, oh my God. And I want to share that with everybody else because we have a real problem with autoimmune cancer and
Mhm.
heart disease in this country, and people need this information.
I
So
love
that's
it.
Second book was my doctor asked me to write it. Now that I have eliminated all these toxins, I don't eat like anybody else because I don't eat the standard American diet. So, how do I
Mhm.
have a social life? How do I go out to dinner at other people's homes? How do I go to restaurants? How do we travel? We've been to Europe twice and we have family on
Mhm.
the East Coast. So, I shared all of that. Why it's important to go to farmers markets, why it's
Mhm.
important to eat the rainbow. We all know that it would be good if we ate more vegetables, but we don't know why. 30 ways to save on food. It doesn't have to break your budget. There are
Yes.
ways to do it so that you can feed your family. And in the long run, it's so much cheaper because you're saving people from getting ill. I did a
Mhm.
chapter on how to get rid of bugs in your house because I didn't want to be around the sides and I didn't want my pets to be around the sides. And
Mhm.
then I finished it with a chapter on how to raise healthy children because that statistic has never left me. And
Yeah.
then the last section is how to create a healthy environment for your pets. Because while I was so busy researching for myself, I lost all three of my pets early before their
Oh.
time. And I
Mhm.
hadn't thought about the fact that their world had also grown much more
Mhm.
toxic. But from the day I got sick to today, my life is 100% better. I
I
was
love
in a
it.
toxic relationship. I have a section about toxins of the mind. He had to go out the door, and I met my soulmate because I went looking for someone who wanted to go on a get well journey with me. And he had just lost his wife of 42 years to cancer.
Mm.
And he is my ideal partner. So you can't be afraid to make the changes that you need to make to protect your health. And I talk about stress. I've learned a whole bunch of 3-minute exercises that I break up the morning and the afternoon with. And I
Mhm.
actually put them out as a desktop book for stress exercises. So it's a little skinny book. You keep it on your desk. You pick one in the morning, you pick one in the afternoon, and you never let your stress go to chronic or toxic stress. And then the last book that I put out was a victory journal and gratitude journal
I
because
love it.
people would ask me, well, what had I accomplished? And I'd be sort of stumped. And yet I've written 4 books. I went to coaching school in old age. I met this wonderful man. My whole life is great. And why was I stopping to think about my victories? And I've been practicing gratitude for a long time. So I just put them both in the same place.
I love it. And people can get your books at
Heaven,
heavenlytreepress.com.
or they can get them on Amazon. I have an
Oh,
author's page on Amazon.
nice.
So
I love that. Yay. That's so exciting. You've touched on a lot of things that I think are really important. I mean, toxins, like for example, you were talking about your makeup, and this one really sticks with me because people don't think of their skin as an organ. And you're literally putting things on your skin all the time, or even perfume, or even, lotions and things like that. And it's going right into your body instantly. And I love that because, you know, I have a gluten sensitivity. I'm not, I don't, I don't have any like Crohn's disease or anything like that. But I definitely have a gluten sensitivity, which I discovered when I did my Candida cleanse, which you and I talked about briefly
right.
before. Um, but the thing that really got me was, and what really made me realize it was when I started seeing gluten-free makeup. And I was like, because at first I was thinking, you're not going to
Gluten's
eat
in all
that.
kinds of stuff that
Yes,
people don't know.
yes, exactly.
It's
But to
even in the
realize,
outside of supplements.
yes, exactly, exactly. It's in spices. I mean, it's everywhere. It's just everywhere. I mean, literally. So, it's kind of, I love that you talked about, the skin because a lot of people don't take care of their skin the way that they can. And that's one way that toxins really get into your body
Well,
or
it's also the way that toxins get out. It's one
yes,
of 3 ways
exactly.
that toxins get out. And I
Yes.
actually have a blog on my website, and my website is over in the comments, called Beauty is an Inside Job. We're trying to
Mhm.
get beautiful by putting stuff on our skin. But
Yeah.
psoriasis, eczema, acne, skin quality, all of that is an inside job, and it all starts in
Yeah.
the gut. So if you have problems, you need to clean up your gut because that's the major first step. It's not going to happen with topicals. And a lot of the pharmaceuticals for those things are toxic.
Mhm.
So My number one message is own your own health. Don't just believe somebody because they are what I call, this is an old retail term when I was growing up as a store manager in retail. Don't believe they're the who said of the greatest magnitude. Medical doctors only know part of what you need to know. They are brought up, and medical schools are actually run by pharmaceutical companies. So they listen to the first thing and zoop, out comes the pill. That's why my doctor wanted to give me steroids. It's not bad. We need our doctors, but they're not trained in nutrition. Have they ever told you to lose weight? You go, how do I do that? And they look at you blankly. They don't know. At best, they got a half a day in medical school about that. So you need to look things up. If they're going to prescribe a pharmaceutical, look it up. Find out what it does that's good for your body. Find out what it takes away from your body. There's a great book I found by a functional practitioner who's a pharmacist, and she runs the national Ask the Pharmacist column. And she wrote a book called Drug Muggers. Every pharmaceutical you take takes something out of your body. I am diabetic, so I take metformin, but it's pulling all the magnesium out of my body, which is responsible for 500 different enzyme reactions in my body. So I need it. So I have to stay on top of, is my magnesium at the proper level? My doctor never told me that, but you need to know that because it impacts your body and your health dramatically. And then go back to your doctor and have a robust conversation and challenge him. They're not going to like it because they're not used to it, but they'll get used to it and they will start to respond to it. When my mother got sick, she had a rare disease, and I did a lot of research on it. So I knew as much as the guy she was seeing who was the expert. And at one point he looked at me and said, for God's sakes, who's the doctor here? And I said, who's the daughter? I said, humor me. And when my mother passed away, he called me and told me he wished everybody had a daughter like me. That he grew, he learned, and my mother got much better care as a result. So don't be afraid to do your research and challenge them because it's your body and you're the only person living in that body, so they don't know how you feel. So you have to be the one who takes care of you.
Yeah, it's true. It's so true. I mean, I always say, like, we have this thing with the white coat. You're wearing a white coat, so you must know more about me than I do. No, I mean, I'm not, and I say this all the time on my show. I'm not saying that doctors are bad. I'm not saying don't go to your doctor. I'm just saying, yes, exactly. We definitely need them. I'm just saying that same thing as you. They know certain things. I wouldn't, like I worked in pharmacy for years. So I would never go to my doctor to ask about a prescription. I would go to my pharmacist, but I wouldn't go to my doctor. And, and like things like years ago, my dad's doctor accidentally prescribed the wrong medication. And every time I would go visit, I would always check his medications, my grandparents, their friends. I'm like, Dad, this doesn't make any sense. This strength is way too high. And this isn't a first tier, choice. So they went back and they screwed up. And it was like the highest dose on the wrong drug. And he had to go get like liver testing and all this. And I'm the one that caught it.
Right.
So,
and you will catch things. And you have to remember, think of how many patients your doctor sees in a day.
Exactly.
The average appointment is 5 minutes. So think of how many people are going in and out of his door. So is he going to be as conscious of what's going on in your body as you're going to be? No, you live with you. So you have to be the person who owns it. And not be afraid to ask and question.
Exactly. Always ask. So you'll appreciate this. My uncle, he had stage 4 cancer, and my cousin, his daughter, put him on a special diet. He did so well that he was riding his bicycle to like chemo and radiation. I mean, who does that? He's been fine for like 15 years now. So, and it all had to do with his diet.
And believe it or not always, but if you own your own health, and you
Mhm.
do the things that will protect your body. You start to eat organic. You eat the
Mhm.
rainbow. All those colors work together to create a synergy. You're conscious that you're eating omega-3 oils and lowering your omega-6s. You kick all
Mhm.
the processed and the fast food out the door because they're fake food. If you
Yeah.
do those things, I won't promise that you'll cure yourself, but you
Mhm.
will see significant improvement in your health. Whether it's autoimmune disease, I had horrible pain. My pain is gone. There's a
Mhm.
woman named Dr. Terry Wiles who was told she only had weeks to live. And she
Mhm.
was a doctor. So she had her kids start bringing her medical books from the library. She came up with what's called the Walls Protocol, and she
Mm.
reversed her MS. And she has
Wow.
now done that with hundreds of other people by following her protocol, which is all based on the real medicine is what you put
Mhm.
into your body. So you have to cook, whether you want to or not. It doesn't take that much longer than getting in the car and going through a drive through. It's a
Exactly.
rhythm that you get, and you have the right ingredients on hand. But then you protect what you're putting into your body, you control it. So if you take back your power, I don't care if it's cancer or heart disease or autoimmune, you can significantly improve your health by changing your lifestyle. I did not know that. And I will
Mhm.
tell you, your body wants to heal. I was
Yes.
surprised. My body started like celebrating. I could feel it when I got up in the morning. So to this day, when I get up, I look in the mirror and I ask myself, how do you feel today? Because I
Yeah.
missed it for 20 years. And it'll tell me if I'm a little mood off, which, believe it or
Mhm.
not, depression starts in the gut. Your
Yep.
serotonin comes from your gut. It will tell me if I am inflamed or having a
Mhm.
flare. I adjust according to what my body says, but I have to ask the question, and I have to get quiet, and I have to listen, and then I
Mhm.
adjust accordingly.
I love that. That is so well said. You'll appreciate this too. I'm doing this particular spiritual program right now, and one of the suggestions that my mentors suggested was to eat 70 to 85% raw. And that's not easy for a lot of people, but I eat really healthy anyways. But I'm telling you right now, the changes that I made, I'm 42, I'm about to be 43, and in my entire life, I have always had an issue with sleep. Not anymore. It was just that slight little change in my diet that now I don't take anything to go to sleep at night. I wake up, I sleep through the night, I wake up with no problems. I'm not tired during the day. And this is all in the last few weeks. And it's unbelievable. And I have so much energy during the day. And it was all because I just changed a few little things in my diet. So people don't realize just how important that is. Like everything.
When you start eating plant foods, you can almost feel the energy going through your limbs.
Yes.
Especially if you haven't. I mean, I was eating all the wrong stuff.
Mhm.
And it doesn't matter if it's processed food from a box or processed food from a frozen dinner. They're
Yeah.
loaded with chemicals, and those chemicals are dangerous to your body. So my rule is if you don't know what it is or you can't pronounce it, you don't put it in your body. And that includes things that you would never think about, like natural flavorings.
Uh-huh.
Most
Exactly.
often, natural flavorings is MSG. Now, we
Yep.
know MSG is bad for us, so they now market it under 39 different names. So if
Mhm.
you don't know what it is, you don't put it in your body. And so if you're buying real produce, preferably from a farm close to you, which is easier for me to say because I'm in LA than it is for other
Mhm.
people, but try to buy it as close to the farm as possible because
Mhm.
then you're getting the maximum nutrition from that plant. And your
Exactly.
body's going to celebrate and be happy. And it
Yeah.
won't take that long to feel the difference.
No, it's almost instantaneous. I was watching Game Changers. Have you seen that documentary?
No.
It's about athletes that go to a vegan diet and they'll eat plant-based and then vegan as well. And it was absolutely fascinating. There's a gentleman, what's his name? Rip Esselstyn. And he has the Engine 2 diet, the E2 diet. It's a book, it's a movement. He's got like videos and stuff. Really cool guy. Anyway, he's all about the heart, and he did a 7-day challenge like on the show. I'm sorry, on the documentary. But the point is that he was helping all these firemen, and in 7 days, they went from I'm about to die cholesterol to normal levels in 7 days, and blood pressure went down, everything, you name it, just from changing their diet. And 7 days, like they were supposed to be put on statins and things like this, and they totally fine. 7 days. It
And
doesn't.
statins, believe it or not, there's something called toxic load. And it builds
Mhm.
up, it can build up over 20 years. For all of you who are listening to this who go, this doesn't have anything to do with me. Yeah, it does.
Mhm.
Because you're toxic, you don't know where your toxic load is.
Mhm.
But where was I going with that? It's you don't know. And so you need to pay attention to all of this because it will make a huge difference. Maybe not today, but
Yeah.
when you get to my age, if you want to keep your cognizance, this is how you do it. And there's a study out by National Geographic that you may or may not heard of called the Blue Zones Project.
Mhm.
The
Yes.
blue zones are the 5 areas in the world that the guy working for the National Geographic identified as the people who live the healthiest, the longest, and
Mhm.
keep their minds. And it's the same things that we're talking about here. They're
Mhm.
people, we're not talking about how having other people around you in community doing the same things that you are, because there's really only 3 degrees of separation between you
Mhm.
and other people. So that was their number one conclusion. These people get together, they eat together, they eat a lot of plant foods. Some eat fish.
Mhm.
I eat some grass-fed, grass-finished pastured meat, which they just did a study, and it ends up that it has all the same goodness that all the vegetables have in it because he's eating what he's supposed to eat and he's healthy.
Mhm.
But I only eat this much. Everything else is plant-based. Three
Mhm.
quarters of my plate is vegetables and fruits. So that's what you need, all those nutrients. And every cell in your body has a shelf life.
Yeah.
So your lining in your gut, that leaky gut thing, well, it replaces itself every 6 days until it can't keep up. And then you
Mhm.
rip a little hole in it, and foreign things start going into your blood. They go to your liver, and your liver screams, "Hark, foreigner!" And your body reacts
Mhm.
to the way it's supposed to, and it starts to attack the foreigner. And your
Mhm.
body does something really interesting. It mimics some place where you're really weak. So for me, it was my joints and my muscles. Somebody else, it might be their thyroid and become Hashimoto's or Graves'. Somebody else, it might be their brain and become Parkinson's or Alzheimer's or some form of dementia. Somebody else,
Mhm.
it could be down below in their gut and become IBS or Crohn's disease.
Mhm.
There's different, we have different areas where we're weak. Somebody else, it'll just become fatty liver. And fatty liver then impacts every other organ in your body.
Yeah.
And it's the number one cause for heart disease. I did not know that. So I think that's unbelievable.
It is pretty insane.
So I interview people on my podcast who had health crises and
Mhm.
overcame them by changing their lifestyle and returning to wellness. And I
I love.
did that because before COVID, when I was out
Mhm.
speaking about this, people would come up to me and say, "Hey, this doesn't have anything to do with me, and I got bad genes and I can't do anything about it." And everybody can do something about their
Yep.
health if they own it and they make the lifestyle changes. The guy with heart disease that I interviewed said, "Everybody wants to know what's the magic pill." And he said, "The magic pill is you."
I love that. I love that because, you know, when you share other people's stories, it's going to resonate with someone. And it's like, "Oh, that's me." Or, "Oh, it's not just her. There's other people."
Right.
She's not alone. She's not an anomaly. There's plenty of people. So I love that.
Yeah. So I've talked to people with cancer, heart disease, fatty liver, autoimmune disease like me. One woman, if you get an autoimmune disease and you don't change your
Mhm.
lifestyle, there's something called multiple autoimmune disease.
Yep.
And she has a list of things that were wrong with her that was as long as my arm. And on top of it, she got cancer. And
Wow.
she followed the Dr. Terry Wild protocol. And she is now she probably still has the diseases, but they're not showing in her body
Yeah.
anymore. And she's living a full and healthy life. So if you own your health, you can make a huge difference for you and for your children. So
I
just
love it.
because they have a chronic illness does not mean that they have to grow up. with all that dishealth and this disease is dis-ease. They
Yep,
don't
I
have
love
to
that.
grow up in dis-ease. They can grow up and have a full and happy, healthy life.
Amazing. Well, on that note, we do have to go to a commercial break, so we'll be right back. Oh, isn't she amazing? I just love her knowledge, and you could just tell the enthusiasm. There's just something about enthusiasm about health and wellness that makes me want to talk to her even more. But we do need to go to commercial break. So for everybody who's watching us live, hello, thank you as always. I appreciate you. We appreciate you here, and we'll be right back after these commercials.
When drug or alcohol addiction take over, things begin to disappear. Your friends, your family, and eventually, you. Recommended by Dr. Phil, New Method Wellness can help get your life back with individualized treatment plans for dual diagnosis clients. New Method Wellness provides the most highly credentialed treatment in a safe and welcome environment. Call New Method Wellness for your free consultation and ask about our national accreditations. Together, we can put the pieces back together.
Hey everyone, Julianne Meyer, host of Own Your Wellness. Glad to be back. And I do want to say once again, thank you for watching live. But without further ado, I want to hear some more from Cheryl. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So, you threw a lot of really amazing information. I want to make sure that people can get a hold of you. So this is your website, correct?
Correct.
So is this the best way? What can they expect to find on your website?
My website is packed with all kinds of information. You can find the Dirty Dozen Clean 15 there. You can find what foods are currently genetically modified there. I have tons of blogs on there so that you can find out how to sleep, how to lower your stress, what you should be doing for your health, because it's not complicated, but there are several steps of things that you need to do. It's not only about what you want to eat. But there's all kinds of information there. I even share with you who my wellness doctor is, and favorite recipes and favorite cookbooks. It's just all kinds of information. And it talks about all the symptoms that you might have that are hidden that you don't even know you're dealing with, so that you don't suddenly wake up like I did, unable to function. That's on my very first page, but my bios are there. Everything is there. It's a landmine of great information to blow up the way you've been looking at your life.
I love that. I like the idea of the things that you don't even know that you're dealing with, because we get so used to things. They come on slowly. We don't even notice. And then all of a sudden, like, bam, it just, it like explodes like a landmine, but it explodes in a negative way. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, where did that come from? And then you can look back and realize, oh, wait a second. I've been dealing with this. It's been, graduating to this level for a while, but you just don't realize it because it's so gradual.
And I was getting random rashes my whole life. Believe it or not, that was my first indicator that I had a problem in my body. And I was born in Pittsburgh. So when I met my functional doctor, I said to her, I popped out allergic to Pittsburgh. And she laughed and she looked at me and said, there's a test we're going to run. Because if that's true, you have something called MTHFR, which means it's an anomaly that you got from one or both of your parents, and what goes in your body stays in your body. And it ends up, I was loaded with heavy toxic metals because there was so much with the coal industry there and the steel industry there. I literally did pop out allergic to Pittsburgh. Who would have known? And my father was smart. He got me out of there at 5 because he didn't think I'd grow up if I stayed in Pittsburgh. So he knew something was wrong, that my health was so poor from the beginning. But now we are putting so many toxins in our bodies before we even have our babies. Our babies are being born with 287 different toxins right from the umbilical cord, which means that they're starting out with a significant toxic load before they even open up their eyes for the first time. So if you want to have babies, clean up your diet at least a year ahead of time. And believe it or not, the toxins come from the mother and the father. That one was a surprise too. So give your child a running start and clean all that up from the beginning. And then there's a new article out that baby food is loaded with heavy toxic metals. So buy yourself a little blender and make your own baby and toddler food, because again, then you control what's going into your child's body and it won't start to accumulate from wherever they are at that point. By the time a child is 7, they have 5 pounds of toxins in their body now in the United States. And we're busy deregulating instead of regulating. It doesn't matter which administration it's been. They have not protected us from all these chemicals because there's too much money in big food, big agriculture, and big farm. So start to teach yourself. Grab my book. I gave you a head start with everything I learned with my first book, which is It Feels Good to Feel Good. Learn to eliminate toxins, reduce your inflammation, and feel great again. It's an introduction to all the places in your life that you're not even aware you're getting toxins into your body. And we live in Los Angeles, both of us. The air inside our houses is worse than the air outside of our houses, which being in LA is a huge statement. But there's and all of those perfumes that you mentioned, if it smells, I don't care if it smells good or it smells bad, it's poison. All those plugins are poisoning you. All that stuff you're spraying to smell great is poisoning you. And even the one that takes the odors out is poisoning you. It's not really zero. It's not taking the sense away. It's poisoning you. So those ads where people are smelling their laundry and going into ecstasy, they're poisoning themselves with every breath. And so become aware of where these poisons are, because they're places you have no idea about.
Yeah, I found it fascinating because now I didn't realize that the fabric sheets and all that, which I've have an issue with laundry detergent, soap, anything that has the perfumes in it. So I have to get all natural and everything else. But I didn't realize that those are carcinogens. That fresh fabric smell coming from the dryer, those are carcinogens. So you're just taking a big whiff of that. Might as well smoke some cigarettes. I mean,
yeah. And it doesn't have to be that way. I found a cleaner that I use for a whole lot of stuff. It cleans my counters. It cleans my dishes. Eggs, which stick on plates, sits for 5 minutes. They come right off. I clean my floors. I clean my toilets, and I put it in my laundry. And it's called Branch Basics. And it is a plant enzyme.
Oh, nice.
And so it doesn't have, it's a 1 on the EWG scale. And they just came out with a boost that takes stains out of your clothes that is between a 0 and a 1 on the 10-point scale. And then
Wow.
in the dryer, instead of dryer sheets, I use wool balls.
Me
Takes all
too.
the static electricity out. And, you know, you don't need that stuff. And the
Yeah.
most toxic thing in your house are the little soap packets that you've been throwing into your laundry or your dishwasher.
Mhm.
If a toddler was to bite into that, you probably couldn't even get them to emergency.
And that should be an indication that you're ingesting that, because if you're putting that, if you can't eat it, it's still on your plates. It's still, you're putting your food on there. It's going to pick it up. And I'm sure you know this, but the number one thing that Americans ingest is plastic. And that's what we eat the most of, whether we realize it or not. And it's like, at first, it took me a second to, most people drink out of plastic water bottles. A lot of people heat things up in the microwave. I mean, we are constantly adding
And it's
plastic.
impossible to get completely away from it. I mean, I
It is.
store my food all in glass now with silicone lids. I would never put anything into plastic, and I don't use plastic water bottles anymore. I buy I was looking to see if my stainless bottle was here. And don't think that the water coming out of your tap is clean. Flint, Michigan is not unusual. Get a water report from your city, or if you have a well, get it tested, because there's pharmaceuticals in there. All of those chemicals they're spraying on our food is going down to our groundwater, and it's coming out of our kitchen taps. So when I started, I put a filter on below my kitchen sink. I cooked with that, and I filled up my stainless bottles from there. But we've now put on a whole filter system because I don't want them going through my skin either.
Exactly. Showers.
And baths. I take a lot of baths.
Me too.
And yeah, that's all putting all those toxins right into your body. But the plastic, you're paying $1,200 times more for plastic water, and it's leaching into your water. And then it's, as a bonus, it's letting little tiny microbes of plastic into your water. So it's like a lose, lose, lose. Carry it in stainless. Stainless keeps it cool. It keeps it fresh. And I carry big jugs that are stainless to fill up my own bottles so that I don't ever have to stop to buy plastic water bottles. The only time I would ever do that is on an airplane now, because I can't take the water through to get on the plane.
Exactly.
But yeah, and so I'm not going to get twisty about that, but I am not going to drink out of plastic any other time.
Yeah, me either. I mean, it's just, it's kind of funny how far down the rabbit hole you can go health-wise too. And it's like, I always say to my clients, don't expect to go from Oreos to kale in one fell swoop. It takes some time. The healthier you get, the more healthier choices you'll make. And to expect to just give up everything right away, it doesn't work like that. It's a process. I mean, what is it? Only 1 in 7 people, I think, I can't remember now, all of a sudden, for some reason, the statistic eludes me, but cardiologists will tell their clients or their patients that they need to change their diet. And if they don't, they will die. And I think it's only 1 in 7 actually does. And it's just fascinating to me how it's like we think we're Superman or something. And, oh, that's not going to, I'll be fine. Or they just don't want to because they want to keep eating their bacon
Yeah, they don't want to be deprived. I will tell you, I was more deprived when I was eating all that crud and I felt lousy than I am now. And there's ways to have treats that are healthy without feeling like you gave up anything.
Exactly. And your taste buds change. So the more healthy you want, start eating, the more healthy food you want. And those things that you miss no longer are appealing. Now, that I had a drinking problem. And so, well, most people do, because I'm not shy about sharing that. But the thing is like when I first decided to get sober, I was so afraid of not being able to drink again. That part didn't actually scare me, but it was that I can't go to the bar. I can't do these things. I can't go to the winery and all these. I can't. But the funny thing is the longer I was sober, and I haven't been to a winery, but I would go to a bar every once in a while with friends, and I don't miss it. Like what I enjoy has changed because I have changed. So I've never felt deprived, not ever. Just like you said, you just don't feel deprived because you're changing and your
And the
taste
first thing
changing.
you realize is how silly you were when you were drinking that much because you're around other people who are, and oh
Exactly.
my God, yeah.
Exactly. Or yeah, I was just talking to my boyfriend about this yesterday. It was kind of funny. Was one of the reasons why I didn't want to get sober is because I knew I'd have to find some new friends because I knew that if I was sober, I wouldn't really want to spend that much time with them. So it was kind of
Right. The 3
fascinating.
degrees of separation.
Yes, exactly. Oh my goodness, it's kind of crazy how that works.
So
But
you can be the influencer or you
yeah,
can be the influenced. And
yeah.
with all of this, with food too. I mean, one of my tips in my second book is if I'm invited to somebody's house for dinner, I'm not going to make them cook special for me. But
Yeah.
what I do is I call them and I say, we are really excited that we're going to come to your house for dinner. We are really looking forward to spending time with you. So I hope you won't mind. I'm going to bring something that we can eat with
Hmm.
me because we're not coming to eat, we're coming to spend time with you and your friends. And
Hmm.
if that's okay with you, I'll bring plenty so that your other guests can also enjoy what I bring if they like it.
Hmm.
And we're all going to have a great evening. Nobody's ever said, no, you can't do that because
Yeah.
I set it up that they know why I want to come.
Uh-huh.
And so,
Exactly.
and with my family, I gave them all paleo cookbooks. So if I'm going to their house, they pick out a recipe that they know I can eat.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, and there's ways to do it where you become the influencer without even dictating to anybody else what they do.
I love that. And the thing is, you mentioned this earlier, and I think this is a fascinating thing is you said that if you don't recognize it, then you shouldn't eat it. And it's like, if you can't go and find natural flavors and put that on your shelf, then you shouldn't be eating it. If you can't, like these things that, these chemicals, if you don't buy that in a bottle or something like that,
Right.
then you shouldn't be putting it into your body. So the amazing thing about the way that you and I both eat is that we eat things that are real food. We don't eat food like substances. So there's always vegetables, like you might eat meat. I eat fish sometimes. I mean, it just, you know, there's other things that people eat. Like my boyfriend and I went over to our friend's house. I just ate the vegetables. I was
Right.
perfectly happy with that.
Right. And you can go to almost any restaurant and just eat vegetables. But before I go to
Exactly.
a restaurant, I call the chef and I vet
Mhm.
him. You know,
Yeah.
will you be able are you buying things in baggies? Because a lot of restaurants now nuke their food and it comes all made and then they arrange
Yeah.
it pretty on the plate. Or are you buying at the farmer's market or buying somewhere where you have individual ingredients? If they have
Yes.
individual ingredients, then I can order vegetables and I will be fine. But
Mhm.
I'm not afraid to talk to them. And amazingly enough, when I've been most nervous, some of the chefs have gone, oh, goody, I get to make something different for someone because they are so bored with making the
Yep.
same menu over and over again. And I sometimes get better. I mean, I was in business, I was taking people out to dinner, and I would get this plate that was absolutely gorgeous. And they go, how come I didn't know that was available? How come I
Uh-huh.
didn't order that? Because nobody ever says, oh, ick, that's healthy. I don't want to eat it. If it's
Exactly.
not, I mean, I take salads in jars, in
Mhm.
canning jars, onto airplanes. People
Yep.
always want to know if they can buy one from me because
Yep.
they're gorgeous, they're
Yeah.
loaded with color,
Uh-huh.
they kind of sing to their color soul, and they
Yep.
would like to eat that way too. They just were too lazy to do it for themselves.
I love that. Yes, I love that. And something that one of my guests said a couple weeks ago, she said, because people say, "Oh, it's too hard to cook. It's too hard to, make all this stuff." And she said, and I love this. She's like, "Well, pick your hard. Is it too hard to cook or is it too hard to be sick?" And which one do you want? Which would you
Yeah.
prefer? Go ahead and go to McDonald's and go through the drive-through then. And then you can choose to be sick. I mean, I'm not saying that, what I'm trying to get. I don't want to put down
Yeah.
McDonald's or anything because it's
Oh,
not my
yeah, I
place.
will. There's nothing
There's nothing.
redeeming
It's
about
food like
McDonald's or fast food in most cases at
yeah.
all.
No, they're
Even your
really good.
salad, which is your healthiest option, is loaded with things like formaldehyde to keep it fresh. You don't want to be
Exactly.
putting that stuff in your body.
No, you don't. You don't. We are running low on time, so I'm curious what parting thoughts you'd love to leave with the guests.
my big takeaway is own your own health
Mhm.
and take care of you and your family first. My very first client, her family, she had 7 children and 33 grandchildren or something. And they all went to grandma's house for dinner and they got upset when she started cooking different. She said, if you're coming to my house, you're going to eat my food. And she
Mhm.
did not dictate to any of them. And slowly the entire family has become healthy. So you be the influencer. You change the way you live for you and for your immediate family, and the rest of the people in your immediate circle will start to move towards you. Don't worry
Mhm.
about it. If you change your mindset and your habits, they will see the results of your health and then you'll start to influence them. But take care of yourself first. It's like
Mhm.
self-care. If you don't fill up your own cup, you can't take care of anybody else. Well, taking care of your health is exactly the same way.
I love that. And I just want to mention this because I think you'll really appreciate it is that I actually have a business called Healthy Ripple. And the reason why I named it Healthy Ripple was because every healthy choice you make, there's a 4 degrees of separation out that you affect. Like you're exactly what you're talking about, but there's actually science behind it. There's literally 4 degrees of separation. So like you literally can affect 4 people out. And like you said, you don't have to force anybody else. They'll start doing things like my boyfriend loves his meat. But you know what? He had a vegetarian day the other day, just all day long. I wasn't even there for half the day, and he still chose not to eat any meat.
Right.
So it's like, you just never
And
know.
whatever protein source you choose, you don't
Exactly.
need to eat humongous amounts of it.
No, you
The
don't.
most important part of what you put in your body should be plant food, and
Mhm.
preferably organic because you don't need an unhealthy dose of poison with every bite.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, Cheryl, it has been such a pleasure having you on the
Thank
show.
you.
I
I've
knew we
loved
were going to
being
have
here.
Yeah,
Thank
I knew we
you.
were gonna have so much fun. So real quick, one more time, I wanna make sure that people have the opportunity. They can get your books either on Amazon or at heavenlytreepress.com. And you said you have 4 of them
And I have
available?
4 of them. I have the one where I eliminated toxins. And if you buy that book, let me know. I'll send you the workbook that goes with it because you're not going to eliminate them all at once. You're going to write them down. And when you run out of the old icky thing, you'll replace it. The second one is then how do I re-enter society and stay
Mhm.
true to myself? Because that's self-defense. I'm not going back. The
Yeah.
third one is my little desktop stress guide so that you have it handy so that every morning and every afternoon you pick one. It takes 3 minutes, you do it, and you let the top off your stress because that interrupts everything in your body. And then the fourth one is my victory and gratitude journal. And they're also all on Amazon. So Heavenly Tree Press also has all of my podcasts. So
Oh,
you
yes.
can go there. They're on Voice America. They're in 70 countries, but you can go to Heavenly Tree Press and watch them as well.
I love that. And one last thing, besides your website right here, you said that another way to get a hold of you was through email?
Email is if you buy my books and you have questions, write to me. I want
Right.
everybody to be healthy.
Mhm.
So some of it will be confusing. So people write to me all the time, and I am more than happy to try to help them. And I also, like you, I coach. I can
Mhm.
coach you so that you start to lose your pain. I can
I love
coach you
that.
so that you start to lose your weight because it's actually the same protocol to do both.
It is.
And yeah, and you're going to need some support to do it because you're going to be doing things that you haven't been doing your whole life.
Exactly. Oh, amazing, Cheryl. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you being here with us today.
Thank you. Lovely to be here. Had a great time.
Oh, isn't she amazing? Her enthusiasm. I know I said that before, but my goodness, it's so infectious. I just love it. So, everyone, thank you for joining us today, and we will see you on Thursday.